So I just got this email from a student, and it's a really good question. And a lot of you guys who have maybe been in the industry for 6 months to a year might be facing something like this. And especially if you got somewhat of a slow start in terms of you don't have a lot of tracks out in the system, and you want to know why isn't you haven't been making any royalties and you haven't been earning any money and what's going on, right? No placements. And the student emailed me and said, Jesse, I've been in this industry for basically about 2 years. And I'm not seeing any placements, any royalties. I'm in, I think, 3 different libraries, they said, and just nothing's happening, man. Can you help me out? What should I do differently? So I had a couple of questions for the student. So I asked first, how many tracks basically have you had out there in the system, and when were they accepted into these libraries? Because I didn't know, what the timeline was or how many they're dealing with. So the answer came back and it was, well, about a year ago we did a 10-track album, and then 6 months ago we did 2 more for another library, and then a month ago we did another 2 for a third library. So we're talking about 14 tracks here over the course of basically a year and a half. I think it might have been a little bit longer than that. So if you guys are not aware, that will not cut it, okay? 14 tracks in the system of music licensing in the industry does not make a full-time income, and it certainly probably won't make a lot of placements in the short run, okay? I have certainly well over 14 tracks of mine that I've submitted to various libraries that have never gotten any placements ever, okay? It's just a fact of this business that not every single track you submit to a library will jump off the shelf and get tons of placements. I wish it were that way. It'd be awesome. And if I had some sort of a surefire way to guarantee that every track you put into this industry got placed, I would definitely let you guys know about it. But all I can really tell you guys is that you have to just focus on numbers. It's a big numbers game in this business, okay? You do need to worry about quality and licensability and making sure that the tracks you submit to the companies that you are partnered with are the most useful, the most high quality, the most relevant to their clients and the projects that they're actively pitching for. And that's why you need to have a direct relationship and ongoing communication with the music library supervisors, editors, anybody that you're actually partnered with, right? That's why you need to have these direct relationships with them. But there's also going to be a part of this business where you submit an album of 10 tracks to, let's say, an exclusive library, and maybe only 4 of those tracks actually actively get a lot of placements, and then the rest of the 6 sit on the shelf. Now, do they sit on the shelf forever? Maybe not. I've had some tracks where for the first 5 years of my career did absolutely nothing. Sat on the shelf of the first library I got accepted to, never got 1 minute or second of airplay on TV, radio, anything. 5 years later, I suddenly see new placements for this track that I composed in 2009. Why did that suddenly become relevant? Well, who knows? But in that library, a client came to them and said, hey, I need this kind of music. My track popped up at that point. And at that point, 6 years later, 5 years later, it was suddenly relevant. And now it's getting some placements. But I still, like I said, the number of tracks, I'd have to calculate. It's at least 40 or 50 that I've submitted over my career that I've never gotten anything, have just been sitting there. I'd actually have to go get the actual number. But it's a lot, right? 40 or 50 tracks. You might think right now, oh my gosh, that's like a lot of waste of time, right? It's a lot of wasted energy. You can look at it that way. It's all about perspective. So I could sit here and feel sorry for myself and feel, kind of just dumb and like, oh, I spent all that time making all this music and it never got placed. But that kind of thinking and that attitude will basically just drain you, and it'll sort of spiral you down the path of not wanting to do music anymore because you're just focusing on all the work that you did that didn't turn into income. Talk to anybody who's succeeded in any business and ask them how much money they've wasted, time they've wasted, energy that they've let go to waste on ideas that didn't quite work out, or business ideas that didn't do it, or deals that just kind of went south. You're going to hear every story in the world about years, maybe even decades of working on something that ended up not working out. But the reason why those successful people marched on is because they didn't let that, that down moment, or maybe a long period of time, completely rob them of their enjoyment of still working and progressing in the business. And so that's what my perspective has always been on, is I've just always assumed and baked into the cake, essentially, that not every track that I produce will get licensed. I try to produce it with that quality. Like, I just hope, obviously, every single track that I do, but I know underneath all of that, they're not always going to be there. And this has actually been an issue that I've had with a few different students, where they've had, another student I remember now had, I think, 4 tracks over the course of like a year. And he was wondering, why haven't I gotten any placements? I'm like, bro, 4 tracks is nothing, man. You really have to step up your production game. You are going to have to, like I say, get into a rhythm and a habit, a production method of doing at least, I would say, shoot for 2 or 3 tracks completed, produced, mixed, and mastered every single week. That puts you on track to basically release a new album every single month. 12 albums a month. That could be, if it's 10 tracks each, that's 120. Am I getting that right? Yeah, 12 months, obviously. 120 tracks in a year. That is a sustainable path to full-time income, okay? Even if you only do 10 albums a year, right? You go slow on some of them. That is literally the pace you're going to have to get to if you want to start seeing significant placements, significant income, and actual royalties coming into your bank account, okay? Like I've said this so many times, you can't get into this business, go on fire for 3 months, crank out 2 albums, and then go to sleep for the rest of the year, and then sit back and wait for your riches to come pouring in. It's just not going to work out. You might start seeing some of those placements from the first albums that you got into, but you have to see this as sort of an active 401k retirement plan investment, right? So if you have a 401k and you only put $500 into it this month and then you never invest again, it will not grow as large as you want it to. It's not going to turn into millions of dollars by the time you retire, right? You have to, as a consistent part of your budgeting, always factor into throwing money into your 401k. Same thing with this industry, that you have to factor in the fact that you need to consistently, continuously build your catalog. Okay, that's the only way to do this full time. If you want to just dabble and have fun and maybe make a couple of bucks here and there, no reason to put yourself under all this like pressure to make sure that you perform. But I know you guys really want to do this. Most of you watching right now want to do this full time. And I'm telling you, that's why most producers can't succeed in this business. It's not that I'm some amazingly talented producer. I'm far from it. There's way more. Since starting Sync My Music, I have met hundreds of producers way more talented than me. They're not succeeding in this industry though, not yet. Some of them have gone way beyond where they were before. But the reason why they weren't succeeding was just because of this one thing: consistency. 9/10 of the battle is just showing up. Just keep being there every single day, every single week, and keep building up your catalog and not getting so stuck on these, moments of like, that royalty check wasn't that big, or man, I was hoping that all 10 of those tracks would have gotten placed, but only 4 of them did, or only 5 of them did. Again, one track, as you guys have seen in one of those videos I previously released, can get over, it had 257 placements at the time, and now I checked it on the TuneSat account, it's over 300 placements, okay? One track can blow up and absolutely do incredible things for you. So like I said, worrying about, well, every single track needs to get placed or else I'm a failure is the wrong way to look at it, okay? You should be thinking about in terms of every single track has potential to get placed in multiple TV shows and multiple times within one TV show as well. That's where you're going to see some of the magic happen in this business. So I hope you guys are encouraged by this. And I also want to just make sure this is real for you guys. You guys need to know what it really takes to do well in this industry in the long haul. It's not for those that are looking to, get that viral hit in 1 week and have 1 million views and suddenly have all these people looking at you. You got to pay your dues. Just like most businesses and most industries, you're not going to jump into it and take it over instantly. Okay, it is going to take time. You're going to have to do a lot of countless thankless hours of work, right? So I've been there. I spent over 10 years basically working isolated in my home studio, cranking this stuff out mostly by myself. And that's what it takes. But, hopefully with these videos and, Sync Academy and Sync Edge and stuff that I provide, you guys don't feel so isolated. You don't feel so alone. You don't feel like it's so daunting and that you just only see this, this mountain ahead of you that's like, oh my gosh, I can't get to that point. It's going to be so hard. I hope that this is starting to show you that it's just a step-by-step process, right? When we did the Sync 60 challenge, a big part of that was all about not seeing a huge mountain in front of you and being overwhelmed and then demotivated and not achieving your goals, but breaking it up into little steps, right? Week by week steps, these 8-week steps that we put together so that you don't have to think about the last goal at the end of 8 weeks. You just have to think about, what do I need to do today to get to my weekly goal, right? So when you break things down, it becomes less intimidating, less scary, and less demotivating. And actually, it can encourage you more because as you progress daily and weekly, you hit those little goals that you set for yourselves, those micro goals. And when you hit them and you nail them, you've got a boost of energy to push you through to the next week, into the next month, and into the year, right? So these are these kind of little cheats, these little tricks that basically I've used in my career to self-motivate myself and to make sure that I nail my constant music production goals that I have to do if I want to make this my full-time job. It's not easy, but this is making music for a living. How many people do it? Not many. And this is one of the main reasons why. Patience and persistence. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you do subscribe, hit that little bell so you get all the notifications when I go live, or put up cool videos like this, and make sure you share this with a musician or a producer friend that you have that might be motivated or interested to know this kind of information, especially about TV film licensing, the TV film licensing business. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.